All right, good morning. Good morning again. Good morning. We're going to get started here. We have 5 rezonings to get through this morning. The one that most of you folks are here about will be last. So at this point, we'll let Jared take over here and we'll start the process.
Yes, good morning. We've got 5 items for your agenda this morning, all zonings. We're going to, like I say, we're going to do them out of order. We're going to start with UZO 18 of 24. The property owners here are the Evans. The property on 6622 North Marmon Court. The property is located on the west side of Marmon Court, just south of East Peggy Avenue. They're currently zoned R1. They want R2 two-family residential district. The whole neighborhood is all R1. There are a couple of R2s in that subdivision on the northwest side of it. Get to the right page here. This area has identified as medium intensity residential. The petitioners request to rezone their property to remodel a portion of an existing detached garage into a livable space for a family member. A variance has been applied through the Board of Zoning Appeals for a reduction from the 25-foot rear yard setback. Property exceeds the minimum lot size requirement for the R2 two-family residential lots. The nearest R2 zoning is 625 feet to the northwest on Philbeck. Those duplexes were constructed in 1993. The original subdivision was platted in 67. Since then, there's been 4 additional phases, all single-family residential, with the exception of the replat to accommodate the duplexes built in 93. It's apparent that the intent of the developer was, and the subsequent build-out for the subdivision is for single-family. The neighborhood has remained as such now for nearly 50-plus years, and staff didn't really see any real need to allow densities to increase at this location. Staff is of the opinion that this is not going to alter the general characteristics of the neighborhood. Sewer is available, but public water is not. So IDEM will have to approve of the semi-public water system. We did offer a favorable recommendation. Area Planning Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation. There were no remonstrators present. The only conditions we applied were Board of Zoning Appeals approval for the needed variances to bring the property into compliance with the unit with standards. The converted garage must be inspected and found to be habitable structure being constructed and in keeping with Indiana Residential Building Code. Building permits must be issued for the converted livable building, and then of course IDEM approval for the semi-public utilities design.
Anything else?
That's all.
Petitioners, are you here? Anything you'd like to add? Anybody here in opposition? Would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve rezoning.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Next one, Jerry.
All right. Property is 11583 South US Highway 41. It's currently zoned A1, proposed zoning C7 for portable buildings, carports, fencing, and sales office. The property as a whole was rezoned in 2003 to allow for retail establishment for fence, decking, trailer sales, and modular sales office. It's since become a location of portable buildings, carports, and fencing sales. The property owner has expanded the display area and wishes to rezone the new area to allow for the continuation of the existing use. We did have one letter of remonstrance, a gentleman who was concerned over the expansion of the use and stated in his letter he wasn't in support of it because he didn't feel that there was a need for that at that location.
Are the petitioners present?
I'm surveyor.
Anything you'd like to add?
No.
Anybody here in opposition? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, third item this morning. This is UZO 15 of 24. Here we have property on Erie Canal. The site is located north of 4495 Erie Canal. Property owners are the Kearns, represented by Mr. Britton. Current zoning is C2. The proposed zoning is C3. The surrounding uses are either agricultural or commercial. The petitioner is requesting to rezone from a C2 to a C3 for the proposed use of a retail sales store. This property is in a special flood hazard area. Accordingly, a detailed site plan will be required to ensure the new structure and any other development on the property meets all requirements of the flood hazard ordinance for Vigo County. A grading plan was previously submitted for the project that did not meet requirements. Residential does adjoin immediately to the west. Special attention should also be paid to noise and light pollution intruding into the surrounding neighborhood. Type C buffer will be required and is depicted on the site plan. Hard surfacing of all public use areas is required. Of concern is the plan to utilize 19th Street for ingress egress. Limiting access to just Erie Canal would be a safeguard for the residents behind the development. 19th is not constructed to handle commercial traffic. There is an existing road cut on Erie Canal. However, county engineering may request improvements be made to facilitate the additional commercial ingress egress. We've seen a number of these similar developments in outlying areas of Vigo County in the past few years. The business model for these types of stores places convenience within reach of areas not otherwise served. We offered a favorable recommendation. Area Plan Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation. The only contingencies we had were county engineering review of the drive cut location, improvements needed to Erie Canal to facilitate safe ingress egress, approval of the stormwater retention designs, combination of the parcels into one lot, a type C buffer yard where residential adjoins, and in development must meet the requirements of the flood hazard ordinance for Vigo County.
Mr. Britton.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lou Britton, I'm representing the petitioners. Also here this morning is Dave Peters, an engineer for the project. The Area Plan Commission recommended this favorably unanimously. As I recall, there were no remonstrators present. But to give you a brief help in locating this property, it's when you're driving along there, I had a little trouble getting pictures. I almost got run over. It's traffic is so heavy, but it's a really oddly shaped parcel located right here. It's kind of almost an hourglass kind of thing. This is a existing service station convenience store to the immediate south. There's a large A1 here. You can see there's some R7 zonings here along Spring Hill, which is obviously a lot of businesses located along Spring Hill, all this direction. This is, while it's A1, it's a mining overlay district, hence the purple color. And this is a very large M1 district over here. This is a site plan for the project. You can see the two proposed entrances here. Those will obviously have to be dealt with engineering to make sure everybody's satisfied with the way those are engineered. These are photographs of the site itself. They don't really tell you much. It's very overgrown. It sits down from the road a bit, and so will require, as Area Plan indicated, some engineering in order to get that up to where it needs to be. Flip it around just quickly. This is a photo of the service station that's located immediately to the north, or south rather, I'm sorry. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If I can't, I'm sure Mr. Peters can.
What's your construction timeline if it's rezoned today?
Usually construction takes off pretty soon and these don't take long to build. Few months.
First thing we'll have to go through will be the permitting.
I got a couple of questions. First, Chair, could you clarify what the change from C2 to C3 is?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. Thank you. The C2 zoning classification only permits up to a 10,000 square foot building. So a rezoning to a higher classification allows for the building to exceed that 10,000 square foot footprint.
This building is 10,640, so it's just over the limit.
And the only other issue or concern I would have is you say about 19th Street, that it's not built to handle this.
Yeah, if you look at the design of Spring Hill, especially since it's been upgraded in the canal, those are well-built major thoroughfares throughout the community. 19th Street is a much narrower, considered a local level roadway that's really only designed to access and for use by the adjoining neighborhoods.
Did you anticipate a lot of traffic on 19th Street, or and why, I guess, are you going to have that second entrance?
No, I think you have to realize that the model for Dollar General is that they are stores that are designed for kind of last minute pickups. You know, you're on your way home and you're like, well, you know, wait a minute, I don't have any oil to cook dinner with. So you pull into Dollar General and buy a quart of oil and go home. That sort of thing. They're not designed and aren't used as a destination store, like a Walmart or a Kmart or something of that nature. I mean, they're obviously much smaller. You know, the line of goods they have is much smaller than you would have at one of those stores. So they don't really attract a great deal of outside traffic. You know, traffic from the neighborhood that adjoins, whoa, that adjoins the property. Here might be anticipated to use 19th for an access. So I think the 19th Street access is intended primarily to serve this neighborhood so that they can come down Spring Hill and go into here. The main traffic is expected to be off Spring Hill, which is where most of the people are. But it avoids these neighbors having to travel out to Erie Canal and come back in. That's the purpose.
I'm good with it. This property was cut off when New Canal Road was made. Property is, like I said, floodplain's gonna have to be improved. Also Spring Hill with our improvement with the 3-lane where you have turning now in and out of there on 19th Street is going to make it so that it should work well.
Yeah, there are a number of businesses located to the north here on Spring Hill. There's Jones and Sons masonry comes to mind. There's also a storage place. I think as we go along, we're going to see that street gets built up with a lot of commercial uses. And this is already C2.
Yep.
The only reason for C3 is the size of the building.
I think everybody touched on the ABC meeting. I mean, I know nobody's here from DG today, but we would certainly encourage local labor if possible, whenever possible. Vegetation around the building, light control, stuff of that nature to make sure that those neighbors aren't affected, you know, in a very harmful way. I say harmful, I know not too harmful, but just make sure we take those precautions for them.
They typically lights out at 10 o'clock at closing.
Okay. All right, would entertain a motion either way.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next agenda item, UCO 16 of 24. This property is located on the northeast corner of South Fruit Ridge and East Haythorne Avenue. Is just south of East Hollywood Avenue. Representative here is again Mr. Britton. The current zoning is R3 multifamily residential. The proposed zoning is C3 regional commercial for retail sales. This is a mixed area. The surrounding zonings are commercial, industrial, and residential. The petitioner is requesting rezone to C3 regional commercial district for the proposed use of a retail sales store. And as Mark had asked before, the C3 zoning is for this location was selected based on the square footage. 10,000 square feet is the max allowed in a C2. The property was last rezoned in 2007 to be used for additional residential housing. That project never materialized. Residential does adjoin immediately to the north, east, and west. Special attention should be paid to noise, light pollution intruding into the surrounding neighborhood. Type C buffer will be required and is depicted on the site plan. Fruit Ridge is fairly narrow at this location. County engineering may request improvements be made to safely facilitate the additional commercial ingress egress. Again, we've seen a number of these similar developments in outlying areas of Eagle County in the past few years. This business model for these types of storage places convenience within the reach of areas not otherwise served. Common concerns can be raised with this location, as with the others. Items such as trash lining and landscaping may need to be addressed. As with any commercial development, hard surface parking will be required. Eagle County engineering must approve the stormwater drainage and erosion control. We offered a favorable recommendation. The Plan Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation. There was one remonstrator present. A lady who lived behind the proposed location was concerned about the entrance coming off of the roundabout and the additional traffic that may occur because of this and the frequency of accidents at that location. We offered ours favorable recommendation conditioned upon the engineering review of the drive cut and location, improvements to, excuse me, to Fruit Ridge if needed to facilitate the safe ingress egress, approval of stormwater retention designs, combination of the parcels into one lot, and the type C buffer yard where residential adjoins.
Mr. Britton.
Mr. President, members of the commission, I'm Lou Britton. Also here is Dave Peters. On behalf of the petitioner, I believe Plan Commission approval was unanimous. There was the one person who spoke about concerns about the entrance being located close to the roundabout. She lives on this street over here. The property runs all the way to that street. That's Hollywood. That's obviously something they'll need to discuss with the engineers to make sure the engineering department is satisfied that that entrance is far enough from the roundabout to not create any hazards. And they may require acceleration, deceleration lanes, turn lanes, something of that nature, but that's something that they'll have to work with the engineering department on. The location of this property, this is Haythorne. This is Fruit Ridge. As you can see, there's a large M2 over here, which my understanding is was rezoned several years ago in connection with property across the railroad tracks here. This is currently undeveloped except for a large barn type structure located here. This property is C2. This property is C7. This property here is M1. So you can see there are some fairly intensive uses located close to here. This property down here is M2. This property is ag. This is a picture of the residential structure that's located right at the corner of the property now. This picture was taken looking from the corner of that house this direction. So you can see there's a large field there, which is presently grass. You can just barely see the eave of the house up here. Give you some orientation. These photos are, this photo is taken from Haythorne behind the house. This building here, I'm going to age Commissioner Morris. I think Commissioner Morris probably knows what this building is.
Skating rink.
Yeah. You guys may not know that one. That's the old wigwam skating rink. Okay. This is a garage type structure located behind the residence. That and the residence will both be demolished. This is the industrial structure immediately across the street. This is a picture again from behind the house, looking toward that large M1 field located to the south of the property. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If I can't, I'm sure Mr. Peters can.
There is water and sewer there.
Yes.
Yes. Any questions from the commissioners? No. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the rezoning of this area for Dollar General.
Second.
All in favor by
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, final item this morning. This is UCO 17 of 2024. Again, Mr. Britton is the representative on this for the property located on the east side of State Road 63, approximately 450 feet south of the intersection of West Kennett Drive. It's currently zoned A1, proposed zoning C2 Community Commercial District. The proposed use is a retail store. This area has been identified as residential suburban. Surrounding uses are all agricultural. The request did have an accompanying subdivision with it. The petitioner is requesting the rezoning of the C2 community commercial rezoning for the proposed use of a retail sales store with Dollar General. This location will be under the 10,000 square foot maximum. Questions of sewer, water, and other available utilities to location was answered by the subdivision request. Common concerns can be raised with this location, as have been with previous locations. Items such as trash, lighting, and landscaping may need to be addressed. As with any commercial development, hard surface parking is required. The engineering must approve of the stormwater drainage and erosion control plan. Residential does adjoin immediately to the Yeah. Special attention should be paid to noise, light, pollution intruding in the surrounding neighborhood. A type C buffer will be required and is depicted on the site plan. We've seen a number of these similar developments in outlying areas of Eagle County in the past few years. The business model for these types of storage places convenience within reach of areas not otherwise served. We offered a favorable on the community commercial district rezoning with the condition of approval of the major subdivision, the type C buffer yard where residential adjoins, approval of the stormwater and retention designs, NDOT approval of the road cut design and location, and any improvements needed to State Road 63 to safely facilitate ingress egress. Area Planning Commission did forward a favorable recommendation. There were a number of remonstrators present that evening. Also, you have in front of you a packet of remonstrations submitted along with the petition included. Yes, thank you. There are any number of concerns listed in there, and out of deference for your time and the people attending, rather than read all of those letters to you, I believe there's people here who wish to speak to the matter.
Mr. Britton.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm Lou Britton representing the petitioner. Also here is Dave Peters. Obviously, I'm not giving away any secrets when I tell you there is some controversy regarding this rezoning. One unfortunate thing about the rezoning process in both the city and the county is that the speed at which the two meetings occur doesn't allow any opportunity for the parties to discuss concerns primarily that the neighbors have about the project. Area Plan meeting was held Wednesday night, and we're meeting here Tuesday morning, the following Tuesday morning, to rehash that rezoning. At the public meeting, several persons spoke about issues that I think would merit further discussion between the parties, if for no other reason than to allay some of the concerns of the neighbors. One thing that was mentioned was a privacy fence. In discussions with Dollar General, they have agreed that they would certainly be willing to discuss that issue. We don't really know what the request is. It was just, can you do a privacy fence? That's a subject which would merit discussion between the neighbors and Dollar General, and one which Dollar General is willing to discuss with the neighbors. Others mentioned blowing trash. Your commissioner representative mentioned concerns about not having a point of contact for persons who have concerns about the operation of the store. How to address those issues is another subject which I think would be ripe for discussion between the parties. Several persons identified traffic issues. For example, the speed limit in the area. The speed limit right outside where this lot would be is 55 miles an hour. There's also concern about the fact that right outside this area is a passing zone. In order to build this store, the Dollar General will have to get a permit from the state to connect with the state highway. I think that some discussion between the neighbors and Dollar General to attempt to address that speed limit concern, to extend the speed limit from the town out to at least Dollar General and farther, would be an advisable topic to discuss with both neighbors and the Department of Transportation. Same for the passing zone. Should the no passing zone be changed? That's another matter where input from the neighbors with NDOT could be helpful. There was also discussion, and I don't believe it was known to Dollar General at the time this store was cited, that there apparently is a community water supply available near the site. As I understand it, from the meeting the other night, there's a road back here about 300 feet that I believe has, if I understood the discussion correctly, a water line available. The design calls for the use of a well. There were concerns expressed about putting a well on the property, and would that harm other wells in the area? There was also concern expressed though about whether tapping onto the existing water line would create pressure problems for the community. I think that those are two items which need to be explored between Dollar General to figure out which option works best for the neighboring community. It may be that connecting to the water line can result in improvements to the water line that would benefit everybody. On the other hand, the installation of a well for Dollar General, which probably only uses 200 gallons per day, which is about 100 gallons less than the average home, might still be the best option, but it's a topic which I think merits exploration. For these, there was also discussion about the septic system and the detention pond. Those are items which, as the commissioners know, have to be approved by other bodies. They're not really part of the zoning process, but Dollar General would have to get approval of those systems in order to commence construction. For those reasons, I think it would be advantageous for the commissioners to consider tabling the resolution ordinance in order to permit the neighbors and Dollar General an opportunity to discuss these and other items, which I'm sure will come up. I do want to note that I did misspeak at the area plan meeting about one piece of information, and that is the time of lights out at the store. And I don't like misspeaking. I want to make sure and correct myself. It was my understanding from communication with Dollar General that lights out was 9 o'clock. In fact, that's not a hard and fast rule. The hard and fast rule is 10 p.m. I was asked by Cindy Morgan the day after by email to confirm that 9 p.m. time. That caused me to think, well, maybe I need to check what I was told earlier. And when I did check, they said it was 10 p.m. I also want you to know that I did not spring the subject of possible tabling of this ordinance. I did when I communicated back to Ms. Morgan about my misspeaking, I also communicated to her that I thought it might be a good idea to table this in order to allow for an opportunity for discussion between the parties. I did not have a response from her. So rather than launching into a I know I've already talked long enough, but about the merits of the thing, I thought maybe we should first discuss that possibility. I don't know what the neighbor's response to that is, but that's a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's several of you that want to speak today. We can have a handful of you come up. I know, Ms. Morgan, you have a presentation. If you'd like to go ahead and provide that, and maybe you can ask Mr. Britton, or maybe work with him moving forward. I'm not opposed to tabling this right now. I'd like for both parties to be able to do some due diligence before we just say yes or no. So, Ms. Morgan, would you like to give your presentation, or would you like to just talk?
Ready.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
You want me to proceed with my?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Nope, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. All right. This is a C2 because the store is smaller. It's not a C3. It also involves a subdivision, and it's kind of hard to see on here, but the subdivision dimensions are 350 feet here, 250 feet here, and 550 feet this way. Those numbers printed on there are not exactly that, because when I was trying to draw the scale on the map, I couldn't do it, but that's a close approximation of the subdivision. This is the tract out of which that parcel is taken. So it's surrounded by a much larger farm field. It's approximately 350 feet to the church that lies north of here. Let's see, don't trust my memory. It's 500 feet from the south boundary to this property boundary. It's 268 feet to Edison Road, which runs along here. And across State Road 63 is approximately an 80-acre field, which is owned by the same owner as the the larger parcel from which this parcel is taken. The first two photos show the general location of the subject property. This photo is taken looking basically due east. As you can see, there's a tree line. That tree line runs along here. This photo is taken from a little farther back and shows, you can see here in the corner, and in the corner of this photo is the church, which is located here. Again, you can see the tree line that runs along here, which is coincident with the edge of this field. This photo is taken from basically the church that's located north of here, looking due south. This photo is taken on the other side of that tree line that is south of the subject property. So in the distance here, you can see there are a row of homes across that field. This is a photograph of the church. I left it in because it's a nice looking church. You know. This is a commercial business which is located just north of the church. I don't believe it is zoned commercial, but it's there. There are also commercial uses here and another commercial use with trucks, several trucks parked here in the area. At the meeting the other night, several neighbors complained that this proposed site is too close to other Dollar General stores. I think we have to keep in mind that the job of the Plan Commission and the county commissioners is to decide on the use of a particular piece of property, not the user for a particular piece of property. And that's a substantial difference. Several of the neighbors indicated they would be happy with a mom and pop operation located here. That indicates to me that their concern is not with the use, but the user. In the United States, we have a free enterprise system that allows businesses to make their own decisions about where they want to locate their stores, as long as they comply with zoning laws and other requirements. I don't think it's the prerogative of government to tell a business that one of their stores is too close to another of their stores. That's their business model. That's the way they operate. Dollar General's business model is to provide fill-in shopping, as I mentioned earlier, for its customers. They're not a destination like a big box store. They intend to provide people with a store that's close at hand, on their way to work or on their way home from work, at which they can make small purchases and travel short distances. They don't have to travel miles to get to an A&P. I'm showing my age. They don't have to travel long distances to get to a Kroger or a Walmart or a large store. Speaking of showing my age, you know, I'm old enough to remember when we had corner grocers every couple of blocks. There were corner grocers scattered throughout the city of Terre Haute, and they were here because they were convenient for the people who lived in the area. That you won't find those now. And in many respects, Dollar General kind of fills in that gap. It provides an opportunity for someone to travel a short distance to pick up some small item and take it home with them without traveling to a big box store, walking half a mile from the parking lot to the door and another quarter of a mile from the door to the back of the store to get a gallon of milk. There was discussion, as I mentioned earlier, about water and concerns about the use of a well. As I mentioned, Dollar Generals use about 200 gallons of water a day. That's about 100 gallons a day less water than the typical residential structure. The neighbors also indicated they would be more than happy to welcome more residential construction in the area. That's inconsistent with complaining about Dollar General putting in a well if they want to have a bunch of residences that are going to going to pull 300 gallons of water a day out of the ground. I'm not sure why it's a concern that Dollar General is going to pull 200 gallons. Traffic, as I mentioned, it's not a destination shopping facility. It's not going to generate a great deal of traffic. It's located on a state highway, which is perfectly capable of handling whatever traffic might result. And they will be required to submit detailed plans to the state about the acceleration, deceleration lanes. There's the possibility of helping the town out with an extension of the speed limit to the site and the elimination of a no passing zone. A couple of other issues that were raised were the septic system. Again, that's an item that has to be approved by other bodies in order for them to be able to operate. And that design has been submitted to IDEM and is under review. The detention pond, again, the detention pond design will have to be approved by the county engineer's office based on known factors for making sure they take care of any runoff that's created by the operation and make sure it doesn't create any sort of flood hazard for the neighbors. I think I think it would behoove both parties to attempt to meet and discuss some of these issues in an effort to create a resolution that would be beneficial to both parties. But I understand it's up to the commission on whether the commissioners on whether or not they wish to table. And with that, I'll step aside.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wholeheartedly agree with you, Mr. Britton. The reason I personally would like to continue with the conversation today is because probably some of these people are taking some time off work. This might be their only opportunity to speak publicly today. So, Ms. Morgan, you want to go first, and then we'll.
Mr. Schweitzer, could I address a couple of things
Sure.
real quick before we go with Mr. Britton? Totally agree. Our decision here is based on, is this appropriate use of the land? And that is what, I think we're all doing here. I know that I've been there several times, and I'm sure the other commissioners have also. You're going from an ag that's in the middle of residential area and wanting to put commercial there. Well, it's not our decision on your business model, but we can't help but take that into account because Dollar General store and other dollar stores do have a track record, and that's what I think people have an issue with, whether it be trash or the lights on till 10 o'clock or whatever. The fact is, several of these folks will be looking at the back of a store. New homes that we desperately need in our community, a subdivision that's got more room there. And that's totally what I'm looking at. Is this the appropriate use of that land? And in my opinion, it's not. Now, we can talk more about if we want to table or whatever, but I just wanted to clarify what I'm looking at here and why I have opposed this last week and today.
Well, I think just briefly, the site's 2 acres out of 30 acres on that side, and 80 acres on the other side. I certainly think there is plenty of room for residential development, which remains. I would dare say you're not going to fill up that 100 acres in the next 10 years. And I think that having the convenience of a Dollar General store there, despite what others may say, to me, may well enhance the value of those remaining lots because people know that they've got easy access to things that they may need for their own convenience. With regard to they're looking at the back of a store, I suspect, well, first of all, there's landscaping that needs to be done. That's another item that can be discussed with the neighbors about what kind of landscaping should be planned for all sides of the store. But there was also mention of a privacy fence, which, as I've indicated, Dollar General is willing to discuss with the neighbors. I think that properly done, the back of a store with appropriate fencing and landscaping is not gonna be any more of an intrusion on neighbors who are 300 feet away than, the back of a house, which could be 2.5 stories tall. This building's going to be 1 story tall. So I think that, I think that the Dollar General store is not the boogeyman that some would like us to believe. Thanks.
Well, good morning, commissioners, and thank you for your consideration of our petition. I'm Cindy Morgan, and I grew up in Prairieton, went to Prairieton School. Actually, we say Prairieton, so that's how it's gonna come out from now on. It's a piece of my heart. My family's from there. They're at this point, I don't live in Prairieton. I live out on the east side. I couldn't find a home that I wanted to buy in Prairieton. But I am a trustee of the Prairieton United Methodist Church, and we're very concerned with what is planned for our south boundary. I've already submitted, and I see that you have our initial petition. So we're not going to take our time and read that again. In the consideration of time, we have topics of the highest interest to our residents, and they're going to be brought to you by the members of our community. And the first resident is a realtor, Jennifer Lamberson.
I apologize, I only have 4 copies here, so if you guys can share. As Cindy stated, I'm Jennifer Lamberson, and I am a realtor who lives in Prairieton. Been there pretty much all of my life. My family's all living there. I'm going to speak about the housing shortage in Beaver County. The National Association of Realtors uses absorption rate to help determine our current housing market. Absorption rate is the speed homes are sold in a specific market in a specific time frame. A high absorption rate equals higher demand and fewer days on market. An absorption rate at or above 20% is the seller's market, below 15% is the buyer's market. As of the end of August, Beaver County had a 47% absorption rate. Month supply of inventory is another determinant of the housing market. Month supply of inventory refers to the number of months it would take for the current inventory of homes to sell given the current pace. 6 months supply brings moderate price appreciation. A lower level of month supply pushes prices up. Vigo County had just a little over 2 months supply at the end of August. Small town rural living is attractive to many home buyers, and Prairieton currently offers that. It's a quiet, friendly neighborhood with easy and close access to city amenities, while maintaining the character and feel of country life. The proposed Dollar General site would be better used for residential housing. With very close proximity to the church, the park, the local bakery, Hoosier Prairie Elementary School, the post office, etc., it's a very desirable location for families looking to build a home away from the city. The expansion of the Vigo County Industrial Park will bring new families to our area. Prairieton is just a 10-minute drive to the industrial park, making it a prime location for new employees of Amazon and any other businesses that the park brings. There have only been 6 homes listed in the local MLS for Prairieton in the last 3 months. Of those 6, 4 have sold or gone under contract with an average time on market of just 5 days. That's from the time the listing contract was signed to an accepted offer. South Haven subdivision will be greatly impacted by the Dollar General. 3 of our neighbors paid close to $300,000 for their homes and are now facing the possibility that they will lose their beautiful scenic views to the back of a commercial building. That area of Prairieton is extremely attractive to home buyers. In South Haven alone, 13 homes have sold within the last 3 years, with 10 being new constructions. Out of the 8 listed in the MLS, 4 sold at or above asking price, with an average time on market of less than 2 months. That doesn't take into account that someone on the market prior to completion, and the last lots, 16 through 20, sold just last week. According to Beacon, the Dollar General located at Highway 63 and Spring Hill Road is only paying $13,700 in property taxes. Property taxes for the 13 homes in South Haven bring approximately $35,500 in revenue for Prairieton Township. The 6 acres in question could easily be divided into half-acre lots to build 12 homes, which could bring an additional $35,000 to the community, more than double what a Dollar General would pay in property taxes. Also, bringing commercialization to the area would deter other new residential building. We don't need another Dollar General so close to us. We need homes, and this would be better suited for adding neighbors, not a discount chain store. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate y'all being here and appreciate the support of our community. My name's Eddie Adams. I live at 7847 South Patton Street, Terre Haute address, but I'm just north of the cemetery in Fredericton. I've lived there 42 years. My wife raised my family. Our community is in a state of growth with the addition of new homes and subdivisions in recent years. What's the draw of the area? Prairieton's on the edge of the country, where there are many services and utilities, such as the water that we talked about, natural gas, broadband services, with a small town atmosphere and less hustle and bustle. For the proposed location in all of Prairieton, we do not hook up to the Terre Haute city wastewater utility, thus requiring septic systems. Most of Prairieton has the availability of the city water that we talked about, American Water. Their purchases of the private Prairieton water system took place in 1992. The proposed location does have access to the Indiana water via the nearest town. The tower is in the Beagle County Industrial Park at roughly 6 miles away from Prairieton. The primary water pressure isn't the best due to the distance from the tower. When the fire department does hook up to the hydrant to fill their trucks, the water pressure becomes non-existent, basically, and will stop at a flow of the time. As emergency services, those services would provide the Prairieton Fire Department on behalf of the Prairieton Protection District. At this time, the proposed location is not within 200 feet of the fire hydrant. As to other public infrastructure, the proposed area has no sidewalks, as in the infrastructure is not present, period, in Prairieton. I, for one, would recommend walking. I wouldn't walk to the location due to various changes in traffic patterns up and down 63. This would best be reached by motor vehicle and not to trespass on other properties. I would like to bring up a position of local taxes. Our residential growth over the past years has helped to fill in some of the loss of the tax base of the township due to the takeover of some of the state river bottoms. Having a commercial establishment such as Dollar General will most likely stifle any further residential development in the community. If zoning were to be approved by Dollar General, it is the position of Dollar General to ask for a tax abatement. We're asking. If that's the case, if it would be approved, the Fire Protection District wouldn't receive any further funding to support this facility during that time. Can you ask your local departments or districts to do this without proper funding? Most likely not. Does our community need to bring this upon themselves? Probably no. At what cost to the community, taxpayers, and the public's safety time and staff become involved in decision-making process? Part of this was prepared by one of our other committee members who couldn't make it today, Paul Fouts, who was actually involved with the fire department. But some of these feelings are my felt feelings as well. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Anybody else wish to speak? Yes.
One thing I want to say, there's been incorrect information spoke this morning as far as the boundary. Cindy said that they butt the south, their south boundary butts up to that property. That is not true. There may be a diagram, I don't know, but when I considered selling this piece, it is in the southwest corner of this field. The church is north of it, of course, and it's literally in the corner of this field, 2 acres. And then they printed it incorrect in the paper that the church property butts up to this property. That is not true. When I decided to consider selling this, I thought it had plenty of separation from anybody and anything. And I envision a Dollar General, the ones I've seen, as a small, clean, available resource. That's all I want to make sure that this information printed in the paper was incorrect, and what's been spoken here today has been to some information incorrect. Other than that, I just wanted to clear that up. I looked at it as a good, small, clean resource, not any kind of a distraction from anybody in the community. There are people that would be in favor of it. Thank you. Pardon me, I'm Jim Drake.
Anybody else wish to speak against this?
My name is Travis Clymer. I own the property at 8490 South Edison Place. This morning, I'd like to address a pressing issue affecting our communities. It's the implication of dollar stores on property values and local economies. As these stores become more common in our neighborhoods, it's vital to consider their broader effects. Research shows that dollar stores can significantly lower property values nearby. A study from Clemson University found that between 2016 and 2019, the presence of dollar store reduced property values by 16 to 21%. This decline is linked to several factors. Perceptions of low quality retail options, potential increase in crime rates, and aesthetic concerns due to their utilitarian designs and bright signage. Dollar stores habitually target low income and minority neighborhoods, exacerbating existing economic disparities. This targeting can lead to the displacement of local businesses that offer better quality goods and services, a decrease in neighborhood appeal for potential home buyers and investors, and a stagnation or worse, a decline in property values over time. While dollar stores provide seemingly affordable products, their overall economic impact is complex. Important long-term community concerns must be considered. Limited job creation with predominantly low-wage positions, reduced contributions to the local tax base compared to residential development, potential negative effects on public services and infrastructure. Across America, several communities have taken measures to address these challenges by implementing zoning restrictions, limiting the concentration of dollar stores in certain areas, and at a minimum, enforcing design standards. As we consider future developments, it's crucial to prioritize integrity of our community over any commercial interest. The residents of Prairieton have made it clear, we do not want this property to be commercialized or developed into a chain store. If this office votes yes to rezone this parcel and subsequently for the Dollar General, you are directly voting against the residents. Thank you.
Oh, I got papers for y'all. I know you love them. That's just the petitions. Nothing too special, but I mean, it is to us. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this out. Cindy, would you mind?
Sure.
Thank you. Take your name. My name is John Farley, Jonathan Farley, but nobody calls me that. John Farley. I live at 8376 South Edison Place. Everybody knows my place because it's the big turquoise barn. So this map shows all the people that have signed the petition, and yet somehow it doesn't do it justice. Farmland, what are you gonna do? I could color in the farmland to show that the farmers who work the land, who are against it, they've signed their homes are marked. If I did that, it would be kind of manipulative and kind of insulting, honestly. That said, I'd like to throw a number at you, 1,130. That's how many signatures we've received in just a small amount of, with just a small amount of work by a few dedicated people within our township. That's 442 homes in the local area, according to the 2020 census data. That number may have grown in the over the maybe half a dozen over the last couple of years, but it doesn't do anything to our overarching numbers. 1,130, a number that far exceeds the amount of homes in our area. Imagine a legacy of people that have grown up here. Remember, it was such a fondness that they're willing to sign something that they're not even really a part of anymore. They remember it. They have family. They have roots here. It values the opinions of those people. Despite a constant push of modernity, there are some things that are considered more sacred to us than the constant change and the charge and barrage of the number of people who would take peace, solitude, safety, and neighborly warmth over the rush and the noise of a corporation in the corporate world, over the noise of a Dollar General and the environment that it produces. Obviously, as you can see on these sheets, you'll notice there's a lot of out-of-towners that have signed the sheet, and I'd like to address that quickly. I would assume that most of you either have used or at least know what a VPN is. Those who haven't, I'll give you the quick rundown. A VPN is a virtual private network. It masks your online address, so it's going to give you some oddball addresses on there. A lot of those aren't too keen on people being able to track where we are online. And likewise, anyone using the signal from the cell tower near us. I had one guy tell me his phone shows him being in Minnesota. Figure that one out. So I like the idea of tabling the issue, genuinely, I do. What if we can get rid of it altogether? I'd be even happier. But altogether, this is the problem. And I said it before, we don't want it, we don't need it, it's that simple, and there's a lot of people that agree with this. So I won't take any more time. I do appreciate you listening to us today.
Kevin, can you come up here real quick? I asked our assessor to come down real quick, because he would know kind of a little bit of addressing the property tax concerns, also the property value concerns. Most recently, there was a Dollar General built in Otter Creek, in that area. So Kevin, can you address those concerns of property tax valuations going up or down when it comes to?
Strictly looking at statistics, because that's what I have to deal with as the assessor. It takes history before you can see if a value changes up or down. And because there's always a lag in the system, you may be looking anywhere from 2 to 5 years before you see if it's going to affect the property values at all. He mentioned there was Dollar General one in Otter Creek. There was also one that went in Fayette about 3 years ago. And it was the same issue with, is it going to decrease property values? I can tell you statistically from what I'm looking at today, property values were not affected at all because the property values are still going up. Now, we're also in a market where there is a shortage of housing. So we're going to see.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Property values according to who?
According to
The
sales.
assessor?
No.
Because it's.
The assessor deals only with sales. Everything I have to deal with is the market. So if a house sells for $200,000, then the market says the house was worth $200,000.
Okay.
That's the only thing I'm looking at are sales. And sales in Fayette and Otter Creek have continued to rise. Again, I can't say that that's a direct correlation because we're also in a shortage of housing, which drives the value up. So maybe it was going to decrease and it didn't go up as much as it would have. I can't tell you that. I can just tell you market values have not declined in any of the areas where a new Dollar General went in.
That's what I wanted to clear up, whether assessed value or market value.
I'm talking market value.
Okay.
May I ask how many have sold in Fayette Township in the last 3 years?
I could give you that exact number, but I would have to go back and bring up my spreadsheet to do it. I can tell you this year sales are, the number of properties sold are about 27 to 30% less than the number that sold last year. But that's not because people aren't buying houses. Two things. One, again, it's back to the shortage. There aren't enough houses. And the other is when the interest rates went up, it did slow the market down a little bit. But it didn't change the sale prices. Sale prices are continuing to rise, even though less houses are selling. So I can just give you the statistics, the number of sales. If that's something you want, you can stop by my office. I can give you the exact number that's sold by neighborhood, by township, whatever you would like.
I pretty well know how many has sold in Fayette Township. There is that worry about Wabash Valley Resources, and I don't believe there's going to be that much of people coming into that area.
I can't tell you until I start looking at the past. I mean, everything is based off of.
Understood.
Kevin, thank you.
Kevin, one more quick question. There was something brought up about how much the Dollar General will pay in property taxes. Do you have an estimate on that?
I can't give you an estimate unless I know what the cost is of construction. When a parcel is assessed, it's supposed to be at cost unless it's appealed, then it goes by market value. So if the Dollar General costs $1 million to build and it's assessed at $1 million, they pay 3%. The cap on commercial is 3%. So that'll be the most they pay. If the tax rate's less than that, they'll pay less.
Any other questions for Kevin? Thank you for coming down. I know, Mr. Mackey, we've got your emails. We've got several other emails too. Is there anything anybody else would like to add that has not been said? Cindy?
Well, my name's Cindy Morgan. It's come up several times. I'm a trustee at the Prairie United Methodist Church, which has been on the corner of Kennett and 63 before there was a Kennett or 63. The proposed Dollar General abuts our south lawn, and we'll address Jim's concerns with that. Prairie folks have heard our bell ring every Sunday service since 1838. We wake them up. You might as well get up and go to church. You're already awake. We're part of the fiber of the Prairie community. Even if you've never been in our building, you know us as a landmark on the corner with the red roof. Even Mr. Britton says it's a pretty church. We hope you've attended some of our outreach events. The life of Prairie Church depends on the folks and the families and the people who live in and around the community. We believe the more homes, the better. As a church, we support the businesses that should fit the size and needs of the community. Dollar General does not fit our paradigm. The small businesses that we do support add character to our quaint town. You can get your car fixed at easy maintenance. You can get a chair recovered at the upholstery shop. You can order your wedding cake at the local bakery. You can build with Chambers Construction, truck with the Patterson Trucking, store your stuff in the storage, and get new gutters at Seamless Gutter. Your kids can play at the George and Ida Smith Park while you take a quiet stroll through the Prairieton Cemetery. Our volunteer fire department is a great community asset, integral to our residents, and the U.S. Post Office is the place where you find out what's going on. Prairie United Methodist Church has always been there, and we plan to always be there in one way or another. I speak as a member of that board of trustees. We see the building of a Dollar General as negatively impacting Prairie community and us. As a church trustee, I'll bring to your attention the detrimental effects on our property, as well as our objections to selling discount alcohol within 200 feet of our boundary. And then as a member of Prairie United Methodist Church Outreach Committee, I'll express our dismay about the adverse effects of a Dollar General on our traditional outside events. And those occur both during the day and at night. We are concerned, the Board of Trustees is concerned with adding to the dangerous traffic patterns already in effect. It's an accident-prone area of 63 in Kennett. Historically, there have been so many accidents on that property, on our property and into our fence, that the board decided to take the fence down. We decided it was more of a danger than a safeguard. Now that the fence is gone, vehicles hit the telephone pole on the corner or take out our banner that's posted in front of our property, and sometimes the vehicles end up in the parking lot. They can't make that curve. They come in too fast. The accidents and damages are not always reported to the sheriff, as the cost of our increase in liability outweighs the deductible, so we pay for the property damages ourselves. In addition, the fact that there's no sidewalks leading to the proposed Dollar General means that pedestrians, most likely children in the community, which is who we're trying to attract, will be walking, riding their bikes, using four-wheelers, golf carts, skaters, and those off-road dirt bikes across church property as a shortcut. It's safer than being on the side of the road along part of 63 to get to the store. That's how I tell my kids to get there, go through the church. Our insurance agent said that our liability may go up with more pedestrians using it as a shortcut. In addition, we're concerned with the environmental effects on our property. I think they've talked about the environmental effects. Probably our biggest objection is the sale of alcohol at a Dollar General within 200 feet of our south boundary. Prairiton Church's 5-year plan for growth calls for a building on the north side of the boundary, putting the Dollar General within 200 feet of a church wall. We believe that bringing easy access of alcohol to Prairiton is a dangerous proposition. At Prairiton United Methodist Church, as modern Christians, we're not against the consumption of alcohol. We become concerned when liquor stores provide easy access and discounts for those who abuse alcohol. Our concern is with alcohol abuse. We believe that the proximity of a Dollar General that sells discount alcohol close to our border will only add to the concern of alcohol abuse in our community. We ask that a liquor license not be granted to this store, as it will be within 200 feet of our southern boundary. You may not be aware, but Prairiton Church is open typically more than just Sunday morning and Wednesday night. We open our doors and our outdoors for community meetings and events, carry-in dinners, weddings, funerals, funeral wakes, receptions, baby showers, wedding showers, family reunions, and events that are too large for the average home. We're currently home to the Prairiton Cemetery Board, Mothering as a Career Club, Brownies, Daisies, Western Riders, and we've hosted many Boy Scouts in the past. We offer Bible study classes and prayer meetings. As I mentioned, we see community outreach as one of our most important goals in our growth for our 5-year plan. Our outside events will suffer the most from having a DG next to our south lawn. The south lawn of the church is the only area with enough space to hold our outreach events. We have children and adults on that lawn for VBS, Sunday school games, Easter egg hunts, ice cream socials, picnic, pet blessing, animals activities, and the best event, I think, is our 4th of July bike parade, and that's where they line up. 63 to the west has always presented danger for runaway children and pets. With a DG retention area and a busy parking lot on our south, wants to keep our children and pets safe. In addition, we're most proud of our night events. For these, we need God's grace of darkness that you can only get in the countryside. Our 2024 Eclipse event brought in visitors from far away as St. Louis, who were looking for a unique viewing community without the headache of city traffic. We had approximately 200 guests at that event, and that event occurred at 3:04 in the afternoon. I think we all remember how dark it got. We took into account that our dusk to dawn lights would probably come on. Our Eclipse event couldn't have occurred if Dollar General had been our neighbor with its additional fluorescent glare. We also offer stargazing when the heavens are right, early evening bonfires, wiener roast, and a bean cooking dinner where David Phelps was our chief bean cooker. With the darkness coming earlier as fall approaches, lights out at 10 p.m. policy isn't conducive to the atmosphere enjoyed at outside evening events. A cozy fall evening bonfire just isn't the same if you have fluorescent glare of Dollar General lights. And we can't wait till 10 p.m. to begin our events. Our Christmas Eve by candlelight will lose the grace of darkness, and Easter sunrise service will lose the wonder of darkness to light. These are traditional events that have occurred at Prairiton United Methodist Church for more than 100 years. Please don't replace God's gift of our night darkness with the Dollar General fluorescent glare. And I made copies. Dollar General advertises online their discounts on beer and wine. They got some pretty good prices on their wine.
Hello, Caleb Barnhart, 8170 Edison Place. Would be right out of my view of my front porch. So most of my concerns have been addressed already for the most part. But like I said, I'm gonna have to look at that every day. That's real fun when you spend $300,000 on a brand new house. So that's real nice with the South Haven area. So most of the concerns have already been addressed, but Mr. Britton here spoke last week about reaching out to them if there's any issues and how they have a process all set up to file complaints or anything about any Dollar General. So we kind of went through that process. We went through the website. We called the local store. In total, about 4 calls, and I even tried online as well. We did finally get a hold of the district manager, who said that they had to talk to the regional manager and then have to talk to corporate. We called because there's an issue on the Spring Hill Dollar General, that there's a big sinkhole in the front of it that's been there for about 5.5 years, filled with shopping cart right now, so kids don't go in there, and they think that's a good safety measure. So, and when Mr. Drake talked about the nice, pretty store that he was envisioning, doesn't really hold up with all the other Dollar Generals that are in town. Most maintenance doesn't get taken care of, and a lot of sinkholes sit for 5 years. So, also with that, there's no good way to get there other than the highway. So people will probably still be walking and biking. That's just some of the community around, which will be more trespassing, probably even in my yard, to get there. So that's not ideal as well. So those are just some of the concerns that I have, especially having a small family. I don't want people trespassing in my yard with our kids playing outside. Wouldn't feel that comfortable with just having people walk through my yard. Also, the park might have a little downtick if there's people that are not known that are riding their bikes or walking through. Just people that you don't know from the community, because they are trying to go to a Dollar General. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Anybody else this morning?
And then we have closing. Oh, I'll have closing. Again, I'm Cindy Morgan. During last week's Area Plan Commission meeting, Dollar General's corporation attorney presented several inaccurate statements, and we had no opportunity to respond at that time. So surely Mr. Britton, and he did say that he didn't intend to deliberately misrepresent certain details about Dollar General's development plan or the role of the Area Plan Commission, yet we're compelled to address these errors. The Dollar General spokesman erred in his representation of the site location, stating that the parcel is completely surrounded by farmland ground and extremely isolated from any adjoining property. A quick glance at Beacon verifies that the site is immediately bordered by the church property to the north and a residential development to the east. Adverse impact on agricultural land immediately south have been submitted in a separate letter from concerned parties. Far from being extremely isolated, this development would present a conspicuous eyesore and significant disruption to all adjacent stakeholders except the seller of the property. For example, I've explained how the store's nighttime lighting would ruin many evening activities. Mr. Britton dismissed our concerns, declaring lights go out a little after 9 p.m., which is closing time. They close by the time the employees leave, the lights are out. So Reno roasts are wrong. He later admitted in this assertion in the email to me was incorrect. The developer will firmly commit to a 10 p.m. lights out. Obviously, we can't wait till 9 or 10 at night to hold outdoor community events. Many children and many adults are in bed by that time or will be hangry. Conversely, the location becomes a prime crime magnet if it has no overnight security lights at all. This example further validates the unsuitability of this site for the proposed development. It also reinforces our lack of confidence that similar rosy assurances from the corporation can be trusted. The Dollar General spokesman also emphasized commuter convenience as a selling point, stating that stores are located close together so that people don't have to drive 5 or 10 miles to get there. We already don't. Most Prairiton commuters drive right by the Dollar General stores located at 63 in Spring Hill or South 41. Those who pass through Prairiton on the way farther south drive by Dollar Generals in Farmersburg, Hudsonville, Shelburne, and Sullivan. It's also worth noting that other convenience stores operate along these routes. Our commuter needs are amply served. At the APC meeting on October 2nd, Commissioner Klinkenbeard voiced the concerns of Prairiton constituents. There is no clear process of complaint when a problem or complaint occurs at Dollar General. Mr. Britton responded that the developer would post a notice in this store with the number of the district manager to call to register a problem or complaint. I tried the system with a complaint about the sinkhole at Dollar General, and as of yesterday, I spent as much time as I could. I do have a full-time job, and we all know how customer service works these days. So I did notice that the cart is still in the sinkhole this morning. During last week's meeting, Commissioner Klinkenbeard asked how many more Dollar General stores are planned for Vigo County. Mr. Britton responded he has no idea. However, when another area plan board member inquired about the planned service area, Mr. Britton responded that individual dollar stores intend to serve about 2,000 people. As of the 2020 census, Vigo County has a population of 106,000. This inevitably raises questions about the corporation's long-term goals and whether decision makers of the annex might continue to rubber stamp these developments until we have 53 Dollar General stores. Ironically, Mr. Britton spent considerable time nostalgically lamenting the loss of neighborhood corner markets without acknowledging that every new chain store starves out small local businesses. Perhaps to him, it's merely free enterprise at work, but we support our neighbors who struggle to maintain family-owned businesses. We fear for the survival of Prairie Creek Convenience Store and the resurrection of Joan and Yogi's at Dead Man's Curve. The development, inferring that stakeholder opposition or broader community effects have no bearing on appropriate land use. He stated in part, quote, "The purpose of the Area Plan Commission is not to pick a particular user for a particular property, but to define a particular kind of use that's appropriate for a piece of property based on the property. The fact that Dollar General has a business model that means that they have stores within 4 miles of each other is not really something that's a plan commission consideration. That's a free market consideration. Does it make sense business-wise for Dollar General to have a store located within 3, 5, or 1 mile of another store? That's a business decision within a free market economy," end quote. We beg to differ with this interpretation. The Vigo County government website defines their role as the Vigo County Area Planning Department is entrusted with promoting the public health, safety, comfort, morals, convenience, and general welfare of the community, guiding the future development of the city of Terre Haute, the town of Riley, the town of Sealyville, the town of West Terre Haute, and the remaining areas of Vigo County, securing adequate light, air, convenience of access, and safety from fire, flood, and other damage, lessening or avoiding congestion in public ways, ensuring that the needs of agriculture, industry, and business be recognized in future growth, ensuring that residential areas provide healthful surroundings for family life, and ensuring that growth be commensurate with and promotive of efficient and economical use of public funds. In closing, we respectfully urge our commissioners to apply this broader view to the wide-ranging negative impacts that Dollar General would have on our community, and to acknowledge the overwhelming public opposition to this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Britton.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you forgot your notes here. I'm not sure how this got overlooked, but this is the property owned by the property owner currently. This parcel is being subdivided out of that parcel. It's about 2 acres out of about 7 acres. The 7 acres does abut the church. The 2 acres clearly does not abut the church, and it does not abut this street, and it does not even abut this tree line. As I said, and I don't want to trust my memory on this, it's 350 feet to the church from the north property line of the new parcel. The subdivision of that parcel was approved. That's the parcel that's being rezoned, not the entire 7-acre site. It's 500 feet from the subdivision to the south and 268 feet to Edison Road. If it is in proximity to a church, the Alcoholic Beverage Commission will consider that in issuing any permit. And at my house, it doesn't get dark in the summer until somewhere around 9 p.m. or after. So small local grocery stores, I don't know. I haven't seen a corner grocery store in a long time. Well, before Dollar General came along, they didn't kill Mike's Market. They didn't kill the grocery store that was located right across the street from 8th Avenue and the school that over on 8th Avenue. I don't want to belabor this, but I asked the property owner if he'd ever been requested or received any inquiries about selling a piece of property for residential development, and his answer was no, he has not. Regardless, this construction of this 2-acre site as a Dollar General doesn't stop residential development around it or across the street on the 80-acre field or to the south across the tree row on a 40-acre field. It was pointed out by the realtor who spoke, Jennifer, that basically it takes several houses to equal the tax assessed value of one Dollar General store. If they have a water pressure problem, and again, this is a subject we don't know whether they're going to use a well or they're going to connect to the water. But if they have a water pressure problem, Dollar General connecting might be able to help them because they probably need a loop for the water. What it indicates to me is their current system is a dead end system and they need a loop so that the pressure doesn't drop. Maybe attaching to that system would provide a way to fund that loop. That's again a subject which could stand discussion. Dollar General is not seeking a tax abatement for this store. I don't know where that came from, but it's somewhere in left field. The Clemson study, it was interesting to note that they target low-income areas. From what I've heard today, this doesn't sound like a low-income area to me, and it may be that the Clemson study is dealing with an entirely different sort of area when they come up with their valuations. I've got nothing. I think the discussion about difficulty in contacting Dollar General is just another reason that meeting with the property owners and providing a clear path for them to be able to contact Dollar General is worthwhile effort. One final thing. One of the documents that was attached to the petition I got was this page of signers who apparently signed online. I couldn't go through the petition itself and figure out where everybody lived, but I could figure out who on this list does not live anywhere in Vigo County. I highlighted those in pink. There are an awful lot of people on this list who don't even live in Vigo County. Some of them live in Kansas, Oregon, Miami, Florida, California, Pago, Thank you.
Any comments from the commissioners?
One rebut is, we did say how that the VPN doesn't always reflect the correct address. And also on our map of signed petitions, we researched each of the names on the online, and if they did live within our township lines, then they're on the map. If they didn't live within the township lines, they're not designated on our map.
This is,
Please.
yeah.
Just a few comments. My husband, David Bogus, and I built the fence up front of the church. And after it had been wrecked 3 times, they took it down. If you go a mile further down the road, there is a corner, there's crossroads, and there's easy access to where they could put the store and it wouldn't bother anybody. We really do not want this store. And appreciate your time.
Just to address some of the concerns that were said, for sure, the county commissioners have no involvement with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms commission. They issue the permits for the liquor store. We know now, this is my 7th Dollar General I've been a part of, by the way, actually 9th Dollar General I've been a part of. Dollar Generals don't decrease property taxes. We know that for sure now. And the crime rates conversation, I really struggle with that one. We've seen, especially in Otter Creek and Fayette Township, that they have no sidewalks, and crime has certainly not increased in those areas. To get that information from the sheriff's department. So crime rates definitely don't increase. And most of the rural Dollar Generals in the community do not have sidewalks. None of them do. They're all off of highways. The one in Fayette Township's on State Road 63 as well. Or 150, sorry. And it has no sidewalks, and the one's 55 miles an hour. So just want to address those concerns. Any comments from the commissioners? 41 as well, yeah.
That's from Toyota.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm they are not seeking a tax abatement. So that they're not asking for a tax abatement. And the only other comment I would make, it was brought up about people in the annex rubber stamping things. Take a little offense to that, because I can assure you, we don't rubber stamp things. If we did, we want to be here for an hour and a half, and we want to go down to the community several times and look over things. So that's all I got.
All right, entertain a motion to table or?
Motion table.
I'll second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So that next meeting will be, Jared, the 2nd Tuesday of next month.
Yes.
Okay, this room, you can use this room at any time you want to. You don't want to have a discussion. Okay?
So the next,
No, next Tuesday is election day, so it'll be.
push it back to the 12th. So we'll meet again to rezone November 12th. All right. That concludes the meeting.
Yeah.